Sup guys, Zanderson977 here today to do Hunter x Hunter episode 142 review. Hunter x Hunter 2011 that is. Now, in this episode of Hunter x Hunter, we see first off the continuation of the fight between Hisoka and Goto. And damn, man, I mean, we haven't seen Hisoka in this series in a very long time, right? We haven't seen him from way back when. I can't even try to remember, but it's been a long time. He wasn't there for the entire um what we call it, the Chimera and arc. He wasn't in that arc for the entire duration. He was in the arc before that, Grid Island and all of those things. So basically, we haven't seen Hisoka for a very long time. But as far as his his strength, his potency, he's not lacking in that department at all. We see him basically easily take care of Goto. In my opinion, he took care of him pretty easily, right? He did a simple trick. Goto fell for it, and it eventually cost him his life. Even though when Goto used those attacks that the coins that he spun, right? When he uses the slower spinning coins, right, they move, right, or rather I should say, when he fired them out slower, right, even though he fired them slower, they apparently had something like more torque or more turning force to them. So even though Hisoka used his bungee gum ability to catch them, right, because they were turning with such strong rotational force, it began warping his hands. The rotation force of his coins eventually was growing and growing, and it almost enveloped, it almost caused his aura to envelop his entire body, because the rotational force was just increasing more and more and more. And then he used that as an opening to attack, actually, at that point, because he was expecting Hisoka to be immobile, but because of he was occupied with this immediate threat. Because if he was to let go of his aura at that point, then the coins would just fire out at him and hit him in his body. But what he did instead is he actually planted the bungee gum on his feet so that he wouldn't be pushed back from the force of the coins. He released that bungee gum, and we didn't see this, but he actually planted a bungee gum attaching the back of his body up to the trees and whatever. So once he released the bungee gum on his legs, he immediately slingshot up into the air, right? Got out of the immediate vicinity of that attack. And once he was out of the immediate vicinity of that attack, he basically shot bungee gums right along through the trees to propel himself faster between the trees, right? So we see Hisoka is very versatile with his bungee gum ability. It's simple at the same time, but very effective. He knows how to use it masterfully. So he was using it, and basically he fired back all those coins that he got from Goto right back at him at the same time. Because Goto was preoccupied blocking the coins using his own attack, Hisoka comes down from the air, slashes his neck, and that's it. So my opinion, that was a simple bout. That wasn't very it wasn't a very long fight, but at the same time, we know that Hisoka is strong, and at the same time, you have to wonder just how strong he is. He wants to fight all the top names, in Hunter x Hunter. He wants to fight all the guys with good potential, all of that, right? So he has high ambition for himself, to say the least. He wants to fight guys. Well, it's hinted that he wants to fight guys like Jin, Gon, or at least when Gon gets stronger in the future, Gon's future self, yes. That that OP form that Gon took on to kill Pito, yes, it seems that he wants to fight that Gon, right? He wants to fight Gon, when Gon is a lot older and a lot stronger. He wants to fight Killua, all these guys, Crollo, um which is the leader of a Phantom Troop, which is pretty strong himself, given the fact that when Crollo was fighting not just Silver but Zena, right? Those two guys at the same time. And I know Silver himself is no bitch. The same goes for Zeno. He was fighting both of these guys at the same time, right? And at the last minute, a call came in that basically caused them to cease fire and stop fighting each other. But during the whole duration of the fight, because apparently Silva fought him before a couple years in the future before the start of the series, Silva has expressed how Kuro himself has gotten stronger in that span of time, and also about how he handles himself in that fight. You know, it wasn't a one-sided thrashing as what you would expect, even though there were two Zoldyck members fighting Kuro. He stood his ground and he was able to fight on equal ground more or less with them until the end where Silva let out this huge bar. So basically I diverted for a bit, but basically what I'm trying to say is Hisoka, we don't know how strong he really is because he has a lot of hopes of fighting all these big strong guys in the Hunter universe. It seems that he wants to fight everybody strong, and every time we see Hisoka fight, more or less he always wins. So is there any limit to Hisoka's powers? Who knows? Maybe we'll find out in the future, but for now, who knows? Now, after that point, the scene switches back over to Killua and Aluka along with their escape. Now, we see Killua, he's running along the main road and he decides that, okay, he saw this signpost that says that the next town is in like 4 kilometers or something like that. So he decides to use Godspeed again with Aluka and just basically shut off running on pavement. So he's a lot faster now than he was running in the bushes and the green area. And Subone, who was tailing him for the whole time, exclaimed of how that was so impressive that apparently she won't be able to keep up with him at this rate. So what she does is, which is a pretty unique ability for her, she transforms herself into this motorcycle, right, that uses the aura of its users as fuel for it to run. So that is why they need that is why it needed Amane and Canary to go on it so that they would supply their auras as fuel for the motorcycle to run. And this motorcycle is pretty fast, it costs up to Killua in like absolutely no time flat. And Killua was started by it that he jumped off the main road again and basically went off into the bushes. They had a plan to basically corner Killua at the airship port or whatever they want to call it, but it didn't work. And it turns out that Canary at the airship port was actually helping Killua because she was distracting Amane with unnecessary questions, and because of that, Killua immediately made off with her airship with Aluka, and Canary followed through on her orders to have a lot of other airships around, so that there will be around 8 airships around. He said that there needs to be at least 6 for that to be a good diversion to buy them time from his brother Illumine, so that he wouldn't caught up to them immediately. So they did that tactic to try to get around Illumine and the fact that he was trying to follow in them. But apparently Illumine, he came up with Hisoka. He realized the situation and he decided to make those needlemen things by using his own needle by implanting his own aura into the needle. He fires them into the humans and they basically become vegetables where they follow their orders to death, right? So we see these people that get hit by those needles and they end up looking like zombies, right? They run funny, they they look like they have a mental medical condition, so they're running all over the place, but they still follow Illumi's orders. And he has actually made a good amount of these needlemen as his puppets to hunt after the airships. So we see them do that, and we see him actually at the end of this episode tell Hisoka to go after the fakes, whatever that means, right? I have no idea what that means, but he tells Hisoka to go after the fakes. So after that is said and done, while Killua was actually in the air with Aluka in that airship, he called Morel and he was explaining to Morel the whole situation, and he basically tells Morel that they have good action to act against Illumine in this case, because according to the fourth hunter commandment, a hunter cannot hunt another hunter unless that hunter himself has done some heinous crimes. So Killua is basically saying that given the fact that he knows his brother's ability, if they are able to catch these needlemen, given the situation that Illumine is hurting innocent civilians, basically killing them, using them as his puppets to accomplish his goals. He's basically telling Morel that they should use that as action for hunters to organize and capture these needlemen so that they won't be a hindrance to Killua trying to get to Gun. And we see Killua tell that to Morel, and Morel said that he would deal with it. In the way that they deal with it, they actually contacted 3 of the 16 Hunter chairman electors, or the people who were elected, 3 of them, and these guys begin running up these hunters to begin sending out in the different areas to capture the needlemen. And all these guys, right, we seen them before when the 16 guys who were being elected was displayed. I remember their faces. One name is Teredi or something like that, one is Lupe, and one is Bushido man, something like that, right? I'm not too keen on their names, right? I could be wrong. Actually, I think I'm wrong, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It's close enough. So these guys, right? It actually turns out that these guys actually looked in. Actually, Killer was basically saying that why this would also help is he knows that there is disagreement in the Hunter Association, right, with certain laws and with certain rules, and he knows that this would be the perfect impetus, or the perfect situation for them to voice their concern, to try and do other things. So that's actually what ends up happening. These 3 guys, they realize that this law is basically useless, because it's like they're waiting for this hunter to do something wrong before they try to do something. So they have already given themselves a disadvantage by acting later than before, and they said that they would like to make stricter laws. If the laws were stricter, these things could not have been done in the first place. So these 3 guys are wanting to come up, they've decided to make their own group, their own faction within the Hunter Association, calling it the anti-chairman group or something like that. And they basically believe that if there were stricter laws and so on, all of these heinous acts would not happen in the first place. So these guys are beginning to shape up, right? They've even televised the event so that people would vote for them, people who agree with their line of reasoning, their viewpoint. So things have even gotten even more crazy. And as I said before, these guys were part of the original 16 who were voted for. So this is interesting. So we even see the narration at the end of this episode saying about how the Zoldyck family feud has even extended into the whole the Hunter chairman selection. So it's even gone that far, and it's even caused this turn of events to happen. But overall, I thought it was a good episode of Hunter x Hunter. We get a lot of progression. We even get to see new abilities. We see the abilities of Subone, and we even get to see Illumi display his needle abilities, which I believe is one of his lesser power abilities, but still good nonetheless. So overall, I thought it was a good, or no, that's a great episode of Hunter x Hunter. So that's it. That's my review. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Sayonara.